Hey there. We are live, 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 live. How's everyone doing today? We're gonna
Started.
Hey, good morning.
Hey, Christian, how are you?
Good, good. Yourself?
Hello.
That's my response, Christian.
I
What day is today again?
think it's like Tuesday, maybe.
Almost
A
Friday.
beach vacation.
Every day is almost Friday.
So we're not going to the beach today.
Unfortunately.
Um, uh, okay. So what do we want to start with? Do we want to start with our questions or a little bit about our announcement? Or you want to end with that?
Um,
Let's end with the announcement.
yeah, let's start with the questions.
Okay. So Christian, your video's coming in and out, but go for it.
Okay.
It's your day.
All right. So yeah. As everyone may know, we are commercial real estate agents that are based in Harlem. We work in Manhattan, but we do work all over. What we see is a lot of changes throughout neighborhoods. That's constant everywhere you go. And so, just speaking specifically where our home base is in Harlem, I want to ask you too, and just talk about it, since it is still Black History Month. We want to kind of discuss like how do we navigate the changes in neighborhoods similar to Harlem where they may face gentrification, and how are those challenges faced by the people who live there, and then the changing or incoming um, individuals who are looking to expand in those neighborhoods. How does that affect our role, and what strategies do we use to address that?
Well, I'll start. I mean, let's start with the pros and cons of gentrification, right? Like everything has pros and cons. I mean, when it comes to a neighborhood shifting, um, more businesses come in, creating more jobs for the locals. But not only that, there's economic growth, correct? More developments come in and more investors want to, invest in the neighborhood as they see the shift. But not only that, transportation and different spaces are upgraded. So, those are the pros to gentrification. But on the flip side, there is a huge con, which is loss of cultural identity. What once was Harlem is no longer Harlem. What once people knew known as East Harlem is being lost, and those long-term residents are being pushed out. I mean, I always say there's always a solution to things. As developers come in, I do suggest they incorporate affordable units in their developments. So, that's one solution personally.
Um, my thoughts are complex about gentrification. Number one, gentrification, we are, as commercial real estate brokers, part of the problem. And I think not the problem and the solution, right? But I feel like gentrification has two sides. Um, you the act and the behavior of gentrifying, or the act of the behavior of the negative terminology of gentrification, is looked at negatively because of the impacts on community, because of the impacts on the transition of the identity, cultural identity, and the population in the community. Um, the the physical sale of the properties, we got to take responsibility for our aunties, our uncles, our grandmas, and our grandpapas selling these assets that they made valuable, right? So a friend of mine shared with me a few years ago. She was like, "Can you look up this address? My aunt owned this property for a long time, and um, hold on, let me. Christian, your video is blurry,
No,
right? Ileana, is my video blurry or is it
yeah,
Christian?
it's both of you.
Okay.
Oh, well, let's
Okay,
see how we can unblur it. Is it better?
a little bit, but maybe it's the wife.
Mm. Does that help?
That's a little better. Yeah.
What
Okay.
about me?
Yeah.
Hey,
So,
Ephraim.
but
I mean, hey, Brandon. Okay, so let me start over. So, in not start over, but let me talk about like the impacts of gentrification are really led by the people who sell the properties, right? We can talk about dozens of neighborhoods throughout all of, creation in the United States where they became hot, cool, dope, vibrant communities because of people of color. Obviously, specifically East Harlem, we're in East Harlem, became what it became because of not just the Latina and the Spanish population that are here, but also the Italian population who has also kind of transitioned out of the neighborhood. We won't get into all of it, but the biggest thing is that, people don't always understand and know the value of their assets, right? And then people don't always know and understand how to maintain, save, and hold on to their assets as a community, as a family. So unfortunately, it becomes almost a crippling solution that people have to sell their assets sometimes to be able to manage the expense of living, as opposed to getting a home equity line of credit, getting partners and investors to bring in and do the building repairs that are necessary while remaining on the files and holding on to the equity. As I was starting earlier, my friend told me about her aunt, right? Her aunt owned a beautiful building in Mott Haven. And if you know Mott Haven, you know that Mott Haven is an area that has become very, very transitioned in
Yeah.
gentrification.
yeah.
And so her aunt owned a property and a lot next door to it. And her aunt passed. And so the only person in the home at that time, I believe, was her uncle and maybe another family member. We all know New York City, what do? You get notes under your door saying, sell me your home. It's handwritten, it's from a developer, it's from a
Mm-hmm.
person,
We'll buy
and
cash.
we'll buy you cash. Cash over. We don't gotta wait for finance. We'll buy you cash. You sign, you use our attorney, I will make it simple for you. I'll make it easy. And so our families are targeted in these prospecting, things. Our properties are targeted. And so her uncle, in human nature, there's greed. Her uncle decided that he was going to sell this property. He didn't get professional advice. He didn't get information, but he got $700,000, right? He got told that he would get $700,000. Now, we as commercial brokers know he took that $700,000 cash. He had to pay capital gains on it, so he didn't walk away with that much. He might have bought a property for 300 in Florida or whatever, but he didn't really have that much cash left because he didn't 1031 into another asset.
Mm.
But even worse, the developers knew the value of that asset. Developers knew the value of that corner lot and that land that they owned. And so all they did was buy the property from him for the $700,000. They demoed the lot. They put it back on the market and they sold that for 26 million. Why? Because they knew what could be built. They knew the air rights. They knew all of that. And so I say gentrification is perpetuated by people who have the access to capital, have the access to knowledge to be able to take advantage of people. But then us as property owners, us as community, community. We're a commercial real estate community, right? Us as community, we need to get into our families. We need to get into discussions with our family about what it is that we have, what it is that we own, and how valuable it is. And because it's so valuable, we can't sell it at a discount. If we're having money problems, here are some solutions. If your credit isn't perfect, here are some other solutions to fix that so you can refinance, so you can take out a home equity line of credit. So like for me, gentrification isn't just about the simple act and the solutions that come from it. Because yes, our neighborhoods need improvement, right? Those better grocery stores give us more healthy green products, stuff Christian will eat. We know Christian isn't going to go grocery shopping in certain
Yeah,
neighborhoods.
for real.
Christian will not buy groceries, fish, and other things from certain areas because
if it's not organic.
If it's not organic, because he's holistic. He's all about what he puts into his body. So yes, we want our neighborhoods to improve. But that doesn't mean we can't improve our neighborhoods and still own some of our assets. It doesn't mean we can't improve our neighborhoods and go into, JV partnership agreements with the developer and retain some ownership, a portion or some of the equity in the project. We just aren't educated about how to do it. And that's the problem to me when it comes to gentrification, because our neighborhoods have to transition. New York City is what it is. It's going to keep expanding out and expanding into the boroughs and into the neighborhoods and up. It's too expensive to be in a certain area. So for us to be able to succeed and for us to be able to thrive as families, as investors or whatever, we have to go with what happens. But does it mean we have to sell it at a discount? No. But if you don't get professional representation, if you don't get educated about what the value of your asset is, then who are you going to blame? So, that's my opinion. That's my diatribe for today on that.
Yeah, no, I think that's beautiful. I completely agree. And I think that segues to that second part of the question. So, of course, we know that gentrification has to do with like beautifying a neighborhood. It doesn't necessarily speak to people losing their neighborhood. Unfortunately, it equates to people losing their neighborhood because of what you said. They don't have the knowledge. They don't understand how to tap into the value and the increasing property value, and they don't know how to get out of that rat race mentality where I get a cash grab up front and I'm not thinking long term, I'm not planning, I'm not thinking about the generations behind me or how we can strategically maybe transform it and put it into another vehicle, like you said, 1031 exchange, taking the value from one property and rolling it into another asset of a higher class or status, therefore not paying those capital gains tax. And I think that that's how us as agents, especially people of color in a neighborhood which was historically filled with people of color who see people getting pushed out due to those economic factors. Because we know that when you work with us, we're able to advise on that kind of thing. We're able to suggest, like let's go and sit down with an estate planner. Let's look at your taxes. Let's think about what you can do to tap into it. You need to do repairs on your brownstone. It's 3 units, and to get a new roof might cost you $15K. And you want to know how you can get that? Well, guess what? Because the last house sold for, let's say, 3.5 million, now your property can get appraised and you can get a HELOC and take out a line of credit, take that that increased value of your grandmother's house or your friend's aunt's house, and then take that HELOC and apply it and pay for something that you need to do. So your strategies can look like sales, it can look like tapping into that new value, but only if someone is willing to help you and tell you. So like you said, a lot of developers will know the value of the asset that they're getting, and then they will try and entice people who may not know with some quick money, but in the long term, it's not the full value that their property's worth. And so that's the sad reality, and that's something that we can do as agents.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Just having the conversation with our clients and getting them to a point where they're open to receiving help, I guess, or receiving some type of some type of consulting, because Cynthia told the story about the aunt and the uncle sold the property, but he didn't seek help, he didn't seek advice, unfortunately. And I'm Latina, and my community of people are stubborn as well. when it comes to receiving help, when it comes to receiving advice. And then you see other communities who are tighter, but they don't have a problem with looking for counsel. So it's being open to conversation, honestly, and educating our clients and our families as well.
Yeah. I mean, I think all of it is cultural, right? Our cultural pride and our cultural attachment to being sometimes independent, right? Like, you know, people don't always want to feel like, oh, well, let me ask for this help, or honestly, let me ask a question. Like, you know, we have a ton of conversation, and we'll use like words like ROI, LOI, and we'll use all this terminology in our professional capacity as brokers. And so sometimes it's our responsibility also to 101 it. Like,
Yeah.
instead of talking about ROI, like, hey, you know, how much money you'll make, your return on your investment, you know, the amount of profit you could possibly get from doing, speaking in those terms. But then, you know, people have to be open to give feedback. People have to be open to getting the answers that they may or may not want. On the opposite side, I shared another story with a client about a client recently where my client got a $20 million offer on a property that they own. They purchased the property and they've owned the asset for 25, almost 30 years. And now we are selling the asset. But the value of the asset has transitioned because timing of the sale is different. The timing of what's developed around that property is different. And so, you know, just like you shouldn't sell it for too low when it's too soon, or you're not educated about the value of the asset, you shouldn't you shouldn't try to sell it too late when development has already occurred. So it's like that critical balance of knowing when to move on whatever your goals are, and knowing when to, you know, take the deal, you know, like. And so, you know, the business is what it is. Commercial real estate in New York as a whole is always going to transition. It's always going to build new things. I mean, 20 years ago, when I first started in real estate, Central Harlem looked completely different. I went and looked at a property. It was a 3-family property. It was $700,000. And my comment was, that's a crack house, that's a crack house, that's a crack house. You know, and I'm like, no, not me. But now the crack houses are no longer there. And I don't think I missed out on that opportunity. I don't think I was prepared for that opportunity. But now, you know, there are 1-bedroom apartments in that same neighborhood. Instead of the 3-family that was the opportunity for $700K, there are 1-bedroom apartments selling for 1.2 million, 1.3 million. There are restaurants, of thriving blocks, you know, of restaurants and restaurateurs and vibrant community. But again, it's like, so I'm gonna wrap what I want to say up. It's whatever you start, whenever it's time for you to possibly invest, that's the time. You know, you can't think about what happened 10 years ago, 20 years ago, right? You got to think about what's going to happen today forward. So for me, tip for everyone on the call, if you know South Jersey, if you grew up in South Jersey like me, invest in Camden. Invest in Camden before it's too late. Why? People look at Camden in a certain way. Yes, Camden has challenges when it came to, you know, the community violence, and Camden's had problems when it came to infrastructure. But what is it close to? Philadelphia. What is it close to? Opportunity. What does it have? Infrastructure of transportation. So invest in Camden, just like they invested in Baltimore, just like they invested in Northeast DC, just like they invested in Metro Atlanta. Invest where there is opportunity, but invest where there is something that could grow. And look at the trends. Look at like, you know, Ileana and Christian, you know, like I say, like every day we walk by multiple blocks. We walk by the same blocks. We walk the same streets so many times. Why? We want to see what transitions have happened. We've been in this office a year. We see the transition of the vacancies. We see the development that has come. We see the 500-unit property that's going to have a rooftop pool. We see all this thing. Why? Because we're watching. But if you're not paying attention, you're going to be like, oh yeah, gentrification swooped in. No, it didn't.
No.
It was already there.
Mhm.
Yep, brick by brick.
Yep.
So like it was already there, but did you take advantage of it? Did you take on the opportunity? Like we could talk about dozens of neighborhoods, Williamsburg, downtown Brooklyn, Park Slope, like all of them were impacted and influenced by transitions in population. And so when are you gonna get off the sideline and get into it?
That's right. That's right. All right. So we got a quick fun question here. Nice little transition. So for the both of you, and then I'll answer. What would be your dream commercial property to sell or transact on?
Hmm. Good question. Probably for me, I have two. One is like a boutique hotel. I would love to like sell a boutique hotel. Yeah, like something like very creative and fun. So that's one. And then two would be like mixed use with development with like a whole bunch of restaurants on the ground. So like those would be like my top two.
Ileana stole mine. um, I love boutique hotels. I used to stay at Kimpton hotels all the time, and I think the vibe, the experience, the oof, the
Mhm.
sexiness of the hotel. For sure, want to sell a boutique hotel, but 100%, we need to sell big ass buildings, like 100 millions and up. We're talking 200 millions. We're talking 300 millions. We're selling hotels. We're gonna sell buildings. We're selling it all. So watch us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, I have two in mind. One I go to very often. So I would love to. It might sound cliche, but I'm from Laurelton, Queens. I grew up going to Green Acres Mall. I would love to sell a mall, like an entire mall, just a lot, parking lot, everything. I love going to the mall. I'm not an online shopper. I like seeing things in person, holding it up to my neck, and looking to see if it fits. Like that's what I like. So I'd love to sell them all. And then also, I would love to sell a piece of history. So being from New York City, I love New York. I would love to sell something that is like when you think New York City, you think that like, I mean, Empire State Building, why not? Something like a skyscraper where I can touch and say, this impacts the skyline, and this also had my name on a transaction line. So that's what I would like to sell.
Ooh, love that.
So I know you guys had an announcement for us as well, right?
Wow, yes. We've been like teasing it out, right? And thanks to the hard work of Ileana here, we were put in touch with some pretty great clients, some dope developers that we've been having conversations with. And it's official. Virtuoso Realty Group has been exclusively retained to represent about $500 million in assets being built and launched in Atlanta. So as of February 24th, I'll be on the road meeting new friends every week in Atlanta. And our team in New York City is still hustling. We're still going to be here. We're still going to be doing our thing. But we're really building an infrastructure there. We are opening an office in Fourth Ward, and we're excited. So if you're a commercial broker, if you're a commercial broker in Atlanta, if you're a commercial broker or a real estate broker in Atlanta, give me a DM, give me a shout. I'm having coffees, teas, dinners, drinks, snacks, cookies, tea, anything, with everyone. And I believe on March 6th, we're going to do our broker open on the first asset that has just been completed. It's a 250 unit apartment complex with about 6,500 square feet of retail that we're launching. And then the next one we will tell you about in a few months, but we're really excited. And when things are presented to you, you just got to take the opportunity. So you'll start to see our marketing for this project. You'll start to see our renderings for what we think can go there. We want to meet all the cool restaurateurs, all the cool small business owners, just like we are connecting with small business owners here in New York. We want to connect with them in Atlanta for this launch, and we're excited to definitely meet more of you guys. So hit us up, VRG ATL.
Yeah, that's
Whoa, whoa.
cute. But
So,
yeah,
go ahead.
no, I mean, this is exciting. I mean, this is big, expanding to a different market. And again, you said she's going to be down there, so you better book her calendar because she's going to be busy.
We are
Yeah,
busy. We're going to be booked and busy, but this asset is going to go fast. Once you see it launch on our page, you're going to be like, whoa,
yeah,
5 minutes from downtown Atlanta, beautifully well constructed, brand new construction, amenities. So, it'll be a dope place for a small business to be. And there's a lot of energy to that neighborhood. So we got to go because we actually have
yeah.
a call shortly. But we can't wait to introduce you guys to VRJ Atlanta. So get us a call.
Thank you.
Bye.